All right. Welcome to the Anyone Can Farm Experience Tuesday night live chat. I'm Mark, your host, coming to you from Baker's Green Acres in lovely downtown Marion. That's in Michigan. And today is May 2nd, 2023. As I said, I'm Mark, your host, and I am a farmer homesteader. I live here in northern Michigan, and I've been farming this piece of property for 19 years. And before that, I had a smaller place while I was still on active duty with the United States Air Force. And it was just a little chunk, a 13-acre place, but it was really nice. But that's kind of where we got our start, and where we fell in love with this kind of lifestyle. All right, welcome. Claire Homestead's with us. Ben Carlson's with us. Hey, Ben, did you get some snow last couple of days or what? Oh, catachrome. All right, that's good. I think we got to do something about this camera because it seems to come through a little blurry, and there's not much I can do about it at this point. All right, so the show tonight, it was my lovely wife is the one that picked the subject matter on this one, and she picked it this morning and kind of just said, how's this sound? And it's the solution-minded homestead. And I did think about it a little bit today. I didn't think about it for the majority of the time, though, today, because I was doing other things. For those of you that are in Michigan, you're probably experiencing the same thing we are. We've had 2 days of wind and precipitation, and I got up this morning and we had almost 2 inches of snow on the ground. It was not real good. Oh, Ben, you got 2 to 3 feet. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That just means for the next 2 weeks you're going to be in mud. All right. So ours went away today, most of it. But still, it was a windy, cold day. So we got our chores done. Luckily, my grandkids were staying over the house last night, so they were a little slow getting out this morning, and I didn't care. You know, we just hung around and we stayed in the house a little bit longer than we should have, but that was okay. And then, let's see, we got all the animals fed. I milked today. I lined out my boys on something that I wanted them to do. We have a little system here. This might be of interest. And this is a solution. So, okay, well, let me just tell you this. My kids that have left the house have done really well. And the reason they do well is because they are trainable. They have a work ethic. And the work ethic comes from, you will develop a work ethic out in the work field, but you may have to go through several jobs and be fired by a bunch of bosses. And that's not good. It's better to go through difficult times with your parents and develop a work ethic. It's better because your parents aren't going to necessarily throw you out of the house, although I have done that before. And so one of the techniques we use is if my boys need money, I'll say, oh, I have a couple money jobs. And then they're, well, how much you going to pay? And so I tell them, this is what I'll pay you per hour. You can work as many hours as you want. As many, you can work a lot of them or a few of them. But there's always that little psychological thing there that if we tell him we don't want to work the hours, he'll just make us do it and he won't pay us. And that's kind of there. So I did that today. I just said, do you guys want to do something? And, oh, yeah. So I got them lined out, and then me and Jill went into town. We had to get some things. and we didn't exactly rush back, right? So we went to the credit union. We went to the place where you get the drive-through cup of coffee. We did that. Yeah, that was nice. Then we went to Ace Hardware because we needed some lids for our 2-quart mason jars, half-gallon mason jars. That's for the milk. And, we just took it easy. Then we went to a consignment store to see if they had anything that Jill was needing because she's needing a couple of dresses, and couldn't find too much there. Did find something that we liked. Actually, I see you, Faye. Yeah. And we know that you were in there today too, because Kim told us that she had seen you. And got a nice dress for my wife in there. And then we went over to TJ Maxx and got her another dress that was kind of nice. And I've been kind of having this thought in my head that I like dresses on women, and I always have. And I just think, you don't want to let that go by. So I said to Jill, "Would you like to get a new dress?" And she was like, "Yeah, I might." And so if I showed some interest, we went and got her a dress and had fun. And then we stopped on the way home at another store and just took our time. So that was kind of my day in a nutshell. And I've been sitting around doing some research on the internet. And here I am to talk to you about the solution-minded homestead, or the solution-orientated homestead, something like that. Which what that indicates, what that should indicate to you is, what I mean by that is the way I should put it. What I mean is, the homestead is a compilation of things. I've told you that. Like, we have a pickup truck, let's say, and we use the pickup truck or else it's out of here, right? And we're using the pickup truck. And what is the pickup truck? It's a compilation of assemblies. It's a compilation of components. If you get a flat tire, you don't get a new truck. You put a new tire on it, right? Or something like that. And then we can go even deeper than that. Do you get a new tire, or do you repair the tire that's on it? A good homesteader would repair the tire, I believe, until the tire got to a place where it was no longer repairable. And then that's when you replace it. But only then, unless you're going to be a bad homesteader, and then you would say, well, those tires are nice, but I want to get some of them really nice, fat, big ones and put on there. Like, well, why would you do that? Because they look cool, right? That would probably be a bad idea, because who are you going to look cool for one? And most of the time we talk function over form. So like, it might be a bad idea to do that. But anyway, you see what I'm getting at. I hope you see what I'm getting at. So our homestead is a compilation of processes. And in the quest to take on another process, let's say that you've got chickens and bees and a garden, and then you say, you know what, I want to do this. And let's say that this is, I want to process my own chickens. You're going to have to, you have a formula, and you have to plug a bunch of stuff in to get to the equals. After the equal sign is, I want to process my own chickens. So that's the solution to someone else having to process your chickens and you not having control of your chicken operation. And so the solution, Everything, you're always looking for a solution. Oh, we've got this going on. And you're looking, let's say you've got a really nice garden going on, and you say, I'm looking for a solution to what? To what in this garden area? I'm looking for the solution to, let's see, watering. It gets real wet over here, but it doesn't get very wet over here. What is the solution to that? So what the solution orientation does is it drives the compilation of components per a prioritization protocol. I'm starting to sound like Kamala Harris, right? But really, this is a train of thought that will get you to the place of always working towards a better operation. Now, what's a better operation? What's a better operation? Now, here we go. The word better is going to be a nebulous term. So better for me sometimes is simpler. And I can give you a really good example of that. And this is real life. This is what's going on right now. We moved our chicken processing operation over to our new butcher shop. And for those of you who don't know, chicken processing for us is a major component. It's something we've been doing since the very first year we were here. We've developed a pretty good sized customer base. There are people that raise chickens around us that only raise chickens around us because we will process the chickens for them. If they couldn't get them processed, they, for whatever reason, they don't do their own processing. They don't want to. They don't know how. They have too much going on. They have full-time jobs or something like that. And because we're willing to do it, they're willing to pay the dollars to have it done. And it's become a solution for us. Chicken processing is actually a solution for us. Why? Because what do we need? We need a certain amount of dollars to keep things going. And we're not processing chickens because we like processing chickens. We're processing chickens because we charge for the service and we get a fair trade of dollars for our service. And we need those dollars to pay things like electricity and the insurance company, which I hate paying those thieves, things like that, things that I can't trade them anything. I can't trade with them. I do business with people that I've never passed money. We've always traded. I do business with people that we do a little of both, and it's worked out really well. I like that pretty good. I think that's a good thing to do. I think that's a solution in itself, right? Solution-oriented mindset. Solution for what? Well, the dollars, they're just not buying everything that they used to. They don't go as far as they used to. See? So the solution would be learn to barter. Right? So we're setting up this new chicken processing line. It's all the same components, but I'm moving them. And as I'm moving them, I'm weighing out, is this component useful? Is this a good component? One of the components that we have that we've had the most problems with is the scalder. The scalder has a unit on it, a component on it that regulates the temperature. It regulates the amount of propane that goes to the burner, which in turn regulates the temperature of the water. So it's a thermostat. It's called an aquastat. And for some reason, on this unit, and I have a feeling that it's because it is so exposed and there is so much splashing water and steam and everything else, although you'd think a unit like an aquastat would be able to handle that. We'll go down there in the morning and try to light the scalder, and you're lighting the scalder because you have 200 birds waiting to be processed, and it won't light. And there's always this feeling when you're going down there, like, is today going to be the day? Last season, it did not happen one time. But the aquastat failed on about the fourth day that we used it, went way too hot. We had to dial it back manually and put it on a setting, and then that's it. It would not turn on. It would not turn off. It would just be on, right? And you had to turn it on manually, light it, and it was on. And these things are about $125. And the problem is, well, there's a lot of problems with that. It's the $125. I have to go into Cadillac to get it. And the last time I got one, they didn't have one. They had to order me one. And so we had to put the people's chickens that we were waiting to process, we had to put them on hold. So that means they had to come out and be fed and watered, And so it was a major hassle. And that's the sticking point in our operation. That's the place where if failure is going to happen, 9 times out of 10, that's where it's going to be. So I gave that a lot of thought. And I thought, instead of this little device being installed on here and us relying on that little device that has failed us many times, I'd say about 5 times it's failed us in 19 years. But it's always devastating when it happens because you can't change it with the scalder full of water. So then you've got to dump out 50 gallons of water, which is sickening, And it puts you behind. Sometimes we don't start processing the birds until after lunch. And then we have to call the customers and say, hey, it's going to be, and we've told them you got to be here between 5 and 8. Now we're telling them not going to be ready until 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. And they're like, hey, I got to go to work in the morning. Can you just freeze it? No, we don't have freezer space. So it's a major problem when that happens. And I wanted to do away with that problem. I do not want that problem anymore. So what we did is we scaled it back to a place where we were before, where we had a gas valve and a gas jet that came up under the scalder. This one is a different scalder. It's a different vessel. This one is a cast iron scalding pot. And this jet is really crude coming up under it. So it's flame hitting the bottom of it, and it's kind of loud. And when it gets up to temperature, you have a temperature probe in there, and you can see it. It reads out. It's LED. LED? No, it's just digital readout. We have that set away from the water and everything else, kind of covered and protected. And when it hits 148 degrees, you shut it off. So it's an extra step for the person that's doing that, but it takes the probability of a malfunction away from a little component that's actually put together in such a way that you can't even pull it apart to see how it works. You can't get in there. It's a remove and replace part. So I needed a solution to a problem that I was having. And as I was working on this thing, my mind was going like all these different avenues. We could do this. We could do this. I know I could call a guy that knows more about this than me. Oh, right. Let me go through the yellow pages and under chicken scalders. Not there. Right? A lot of the things that we are doing on the Homestead are unique. And in the solution-oriented mindset, you need to get used to that, right? Not everybody is going to know how this stuff works. When you look through the yellow pages, they're very standardized industries of service that people provide, right? You won't find chicken plucker fixer. You won't find that in the yellow pages. So this is something that, it's your equipment. We've talked about this before. You should know how everything on your homestead works. That would be you would get on your paper, you would get a 100%. Do I know how everything works? I don't know how this computer works. Like if there's a problem and Jill isn't home, and there's not much I can do about it. It really isn't. I don't know what it is about these things. I guess I don't know, but I don't know so I wouldn't get 100%. Um, but a lot of the other things, like everything in the butcher shop, I know how that works. I would think, um, and many other compilations of components. Uh, you pull it apart, and I can say, okay, well, I know how that works. Like engines, components on vehicles. Yeah, like our newest vehicle is like 10 years old, and it's got a plug-in thing. You're supposed to plug something in, it will tell you what's wrong on a phone type device. No, I don't know how that works. I don't know, but that's why the solution to that is I got a guy that I do business with, Spears Auto. So there you go, Spears Auto again. They know how to do that. Good, good, because I don't want to have to know how to do that. I know one of these days I am probably going to need to know how to do that, but for right now, I'm kind of busy, so I don't know how to do that right now. But this is kind of another way of saying that you should always be fortifying your position. You should always be figuring out a better way to do things. And better for me might not be better for everybody else. I am more simplistic. I want things to be simple, even if it takes more elbow grease. Uh, I'm going for reliability and durability and resiliency, and I think that we probably could, be on the end of a jack instead of having a motor on there to jack a vehicle, let's say, is probably better, simpler, less expensive. Yeah, it's more work, but what the heck? It's not. We need to exercise these things too. We need to use these things. We can't always just be pushing buttons. So, I guess this subject is going to get wrapped up pretty quick from my perspective. I know what I think about this, and I believe that we'll allow some questions tonight, and then maybe we can go other directions as well. So that's what I have for you. I'm not sure if this is coming through clear. Solution orientated mindset, a solution orientated homestead. You can see how we're talking about an equation, right? And you need to be able to plug components into the equation, and then the equal sign solution. You're solving for X, right? With that mindset comes a statement of what is it that we're trying to accomplish here? What is our goal? What's our end game? What are we trying to get done? And for us, for Baker's Green Acres, I can tell you it's changed quite a few times. Like our mindset, what farming was a view. We had a view of another guy, friend of mine, Paul Hendriger, that was a rancher out in Montana. And my view of what he did looked good. And I thought I would like to have a business where I could stay home. I could work on my own equipment and make a good living and have the lifestyle that he had. He would be able to take a break anytime. He worked 5-6 days a week, sometimes a little bit on Sunday too, and worked hard, but he did not mind it. He loved his job. He said to me one time, I don't feel as though I've worked a day in my life. And I kind of feel the same. Like you never see me sitting down here after a full shift thinking, oh man, I'm just too exhausted. I'm mentally exhausted. I'm no, 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 no. I'm poor me. That never really happens. There are times when the elements are tough and maybe the job is a frustrating job or something like that. But I never really say, I'm wore out because of this lifestyle. I'm wore out because of this. No, I like what I'm doing. I really like what I'm doing. I have just my own solution orientated mindset. I have projects that I'm working on, and all those projects begin right here. So, our milking operation, uh, we have a sticking point in it. We're getting hung up a certain place. And as I thought about what's the solution to this, as before I'm going to sleep, I ask myself questions, and then I wake up in the morning and ta-da, here's the answer. I mean, I'm not kidding. That's a real thing. I'm troubleshooting my new operation before it's even built. I am troubleshooting it already. It's almost like, okay, I'm able to play out the very first day of using the new milk parlor and the new milk house, and it's not even built. I have very little done on it. Still have to rake out the floor and pour a concrete wall and build a petition and build a set of stairs and pour a complete floor in the milk house. There's a lot to do. We have to get water in there. We have a lot of electrical work to do in there. But the end goal is quite exciting because I picture where on the wall I'm going to mount the compressor. I picture the pipeline that I'm going to have for plugging in for vacuum to run the milker. Um, I've thought through which system we want to use because I could get quite complex. Let's say we're milking 20 cows, then people will put in a system to where the milk goes through a pipeline into a bulk tank. Could do that, but I've already thought it through and I've decided I'm not going to do that. I don't want to get to 20 cows because then you have to milk. You've got to market 20 cows worth of milk. It's hard enough with 5 cows getting all that milk gone because there's a lot of legwork involved, and then there's paperwork. There's jars that have to be returned. It's a lot of work, and I don't think that we want to be just a dairy. I think we want to use it as kind of a side gig. We need milk for the house. We need butter for the house. We need cheese for the house. Jill makes some killer cheese. Rachel makes butter like that. You can eat a tablespoon of butter. It's that good. I don't eat much bread. I'd like to, but I know that it's not good. But fresh bread with that Jersey butter on it. Whoa. What's the solution to getting fat? Huh. All right, so let's see what we got here. So, two or 3 feet of snow. What a bummer. Belva's with us. Catachrome. Completely agree with this if you have the family for it. Sadly, my family fell for the city life and all the bad that comes with it, family separation included. Ooh, that's tough. But rebuild. Don't throw that statement out like, yep, I'm screwed. No, rebuild. Don't accept, you can't do it. Don't do that. There is no excuse. Dave and Sonia's with us. The cleric. Our solution today was hauling hay bales to our pasture and piling them around our chicken tractors as a windbreak. It's brutal. Yeah, I know. We had to do the same thing. I've got chickens out that are 6 weeks. I think our chicken processing class is in 2 weeks, is it? I think it is. Yeah, it might be. And I got 3 chicken tractors, and there was 2 inches of snow on them today. But luckily, the chickens are old enough where they can take it. I mean, who would think that you'd have this kind of weather in May? But Shaw Lake's with us. Keith S. is with us. By the way, Keith, while I got you on the line, I looked on Marketplace, and there's lots of hay down this way. There's some real nice hay in Lake City. I even think that I'm going to need to get some of it. You know, hay is something like firewood. If you're in the livestock business and you have the space, hay is something. If you don't want your money sitting in the bank where you're kind of worried, like, well, Monday morning they might just close the bank down, invest in hay. Hay always has value. Sometimes it goes off the chart. And I'm feeding hay right now, not from last summer, but from the summer before. I would have had enough hay, but as you remember, I had problems getting that field cut, and I split with my neighbor for half. So I got kind of, I cut myself short by doing that. But I got myself in trouble because I wound up deciding to cut a little too late, and I couldn't get through it. So, all right. Sean Wise is with us. Brian Jacobs is with us. Right. Nancy Dort is with us. All right, let's see what she's got. I cleared some land this past weekend with no direct access to water, so I am going to build a rain capture system on the ground to have it drain to a few 1,000-liter totes. That sounds interesting. I'd like to see that happen. That sounds real neat. She says, I saw a video of a guy in the desert. He builds a roof system on the ground with corrugated roof panels with a gutter attached to run the water through PVC pipes. Yeah, you know, it is really astonishing how much water comes out of the sky. It's astonishing. If you do the calculation on how much roof space you have, and then let's say you get an inch of rain, how much that is, how many gallons of water that is, or how many liters. It's astonishing. When they calculate irrigation water out west, they calculate it in 8 feet per acres. Feet per acres. Yeah. Excess milk converts to bacon. Yeah, we had some excess milk that needed to go today. Yeah, that's a Nancy's saying I bought all the parts for a hydraulic ram pump, which I have to set up as well. There is a brook I want to tap into with that. Man, that's really a good idea. And I actually had one of those. I had one of those. There was a homestead near where I lived in Montana, and the woman passed away, and her kids did a sale. And she had, for years and years and years, had a hydraulic ram that filled a tank in the upstairs of the house. And that tank supplied the house with everything they needed. And when she passed away, the kids tore that all out and put a well in because they figured nobody would want that. But the thing was, the hydraulic ram worked, and the only moving part on it was a poppet valve that just rode in a bearing that was lubricated by the water every time it actuated up and down. And then it had a flapper valve that just had a leather hinge on it. And when I bought the thing, it's had the original leather hinge that had been on there for all those years and worked. And the woman really didn't know how it worked. Her husband had put it in, and he had passed away 40 years before that. So anyway, those things are pretty neat. And the new ones the ones you build out of PVC, I hear that they're very, very reliable and far more efficient than the old ones. Hydraulic ram, they call them. Right on. All right. Haven's saying the first time I saw must be a ram pump you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah. Um, I it's surprising that you can't pick one of those up at Tractor Supply. It really is that they haven't got those all over the place because we could be we could be setting up some systems with those. And Andy's with us. Right on, Andy. Good evening, tribe, he says. Oh yeah, you guys, if you would please hit the thumbs up button and show us some love by doing that. Things are going really well as far as anyone can farm tribe goes. We have, for some reason, we've had a huge influx of people coming into the tribe. I mean, something like 200 people a day, and this has been going on for a couple of weeks. So the tribe is up to 4,500. And I think that's a good thing. We wanted to expand our footprint. It happened really quick, and don't really know what the reason for that is. I think it's one of Joe's videos. I have not been keeping up on you know on why. I'm not researching it. I'm just watching it happen. But fair enough. We're talking to more people. That's great. Let's see. I had if if there are questions, I will certainly answer them having to do with solutions. And that would be if you are having problems on your homestead or you're having problems deciding what direction to go. For me, as life progresses, all of a sudden the door opens to go this direction. And even like with our milking thing, it was really last summer when we were processing chickens. And I am thinking to myself, wow, we've got way more milk than we have people coming in the driveway buying milk. And we live kind of far out from town. And so I understand that. And I thought, how are we going to fix this? And I came up with a solution and I ran it past the crew. And I said, you guys think you want to try this? And almost instantly, people said, yeah, let's do that. And now we're hauling 20 something gallons on Wednesday night, which we're going into Cadillac. I don't go, but Jill takes the kids in, or Rachel takes the kids in to Cadillac for Taekwondo. So we're going there anyway. And, we're going to be sitting there for an hour waiting for the kids to be done or even more. And so you might as well make some use of the time and get people their milk. And what that did was it sort of penetrated the city of Cadillac. City of Cadillac has 10,000 people, or Cadillac proper, 10,000 people, and that's a lot of people. And of those 10,000, we've got quite a few people that want raw milk right now. So when we discovered that solution, it led to more sales, which has led to more cows, which has led to the whole thing. It's just progresses. Nothing is a huge decision. They're all stepping stones to get to where we need to go. All right, David says deer and raccoons are a problem if you want to touch on that topic. I rented half an acre last year and the deer wiped out every scrap I planted. I heard 3D fencing is the solution. Thoughts? 3D fencing. 3D fencing. You're renting a half an acre, so evidently you're not living there. I Another problem is threshing wheat or rye is a challenge. All right, yeah, it is. I don't have that problem, and the reason I don't have that problem is because we have livestock guardian dogs, and the deer don't want to cross swords with them, so the deer never come on. And my livestock guardian dogs, I have their underground fence 3D with electric works. 3D? Andy, what explain this 3D? Three-dimensional with electric? Okay, but anyway, our in-ground fence is laid out after several different configurations to a place where the dogs can access everything except they can't get in the garden because they'll go in there and dig. They love to bury stuff, right? And I don't want them in there. And so they can get, but they can get close enough to it that the deer are definitely not going to come up past them. So I don't have that problem. I remember seeing years ago, though, that people would put a single strand of fishing wire, fishing string. Huh. Okay. 3D fencing is two strands of electric wire around areas and then 3 feet away, another strand of electric, and it plays on the depth perception of the deer. That's kind of what I was going to say. And when I'd seen this, it was just done with fishing line. And so the deer would walk up to it and they didn't see it. They'd touch it with their leg and then that would bolt them away. They would back up really quickly. And so it was down low enough that they didn't see it and they would touch it. I saw that years and years ago. I've never had a problem with deer. Extra one, okay. Nancy's saying, yeah. 3 or 4 inside, up 4 feet or so. Okay. Yeah, I guess I don't have a good solution for that because my solution is the livestock guardian dogs, but I don't think you're going to be able to do that. Outside needs to be at a 45-degree angle. Now you're confusing me. Are you saying these are put on steps going up at a 45? And the first one is low, the second one's a little higher, and then the third one. I think I've seen that, but I've not done it myself. Okay. Well, with all those deer, you should be eating some of them. In this state, American Indians can fish, hunt, and kindle a fire anywhere they want. And so and they don't need a license. So some days, especially days when I feel like fishing, is the days when I am identifying as an Iroquois Indian. And I don't have to prove that. I just have to say that, I would reckon, because if I identify as a woman, it's funny, today we were at TJ Maxx, and I was going to go with my wife into the dressing room, which seems a little weird, but she was trying on 3 dresses, and I would think, do you want me to say if I like them or not? So I was going to go in, and the girl there kind of looked at me, and I said, it's all right if I go in there? And she was like, no, there's other women back there. And I thought, what is it, just one big room where they all dress in there? So I didn't go back there, but I thought in these days, what do you care if I thought I could go in the woman's bathroom if I wanted to. Kind of strange. Okay, I'm going to try a Works leaf shredder from a Home Depot for threshing this year. Hopefully it'll work better than a bucket and flail drill flail. Huh. Leaf shredder. I wonder if that will work or that won't break your. I don't know about that one either, David. I would think that would have a tendency to break your kernels. It would smash them, but I don't know. That's a question we haven't heard. Okay. David's saying, "What state are you in?" I'm new to the channel. I'm in North Carolina. We're in Michigan, and we're up in northern lower Michigan. Michigan has two parts. It has an upper peninsula up here, right? And the lower peninsula is down here, and it's shaped like a mitten. And I live right up about here in the mitten, right? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. David's saying, is it a possibility that it could damage the grain? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking would probably happen. Why wouldn't it? If a chipper shredder is not going to hold short of the grains, I wouldn't think. But I don't know. I never thought about that. But if you did get a chipper shredder, a good solution, a good solution to high feed costs and feed that is not really nutritionally balanced because it's mostly just corn and soy that's grown in about this much soil, is tree forage. And we're gonna learn a lot about tree forage this summer during the day before the Tribe Day, Friday. Nick's going to be here. Nick Ferguson's going to be here, and he's going to talk to us about tree foraging. I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago, and it was fascinating, some of the things that he told us. And then I went and did a little research, and he was just scratching it. And then wherever you live, you can look around and see what trees are around, what bushes are around, what is it that's around you that you could use for tree fodder. And where I live, we have popple or popple trees, and they're weeds. They grow everywhere. And you'll have a sprout come up, and by the end of the season, will be this big around and 6 foot high. But if you clip them off and you run them through a chipper shredder, pigs will do really well on those. And you can use them as a component in an overall feed, and you get a lot of kick out of that you wouldn't necessarily get from, say, like a corn or a soy, because the roots of the popple tree are going much deeper, and they're pulling up things that elements that the pigs need, like boron and magnesium and all those things that are down deep. Those things get worn out on in conventional farming because you're just doing it over and over and over. All right, so let's see. Andy's in Alabama, Greenbow, Alabama. Actually, Marion, Alabama. Same town name as mine. David's saying he drives a truck through Michigan a couple of times. Yeah, Michigan's a nice state. We got a lot of water in Michigan. Politically, we're kind of backward. It's a really, really blue state, and they are so intent on shooting themselves in the foot down at the state capitol just for these nefarious things like equality. And it's just really dumb. They say a word like equality, and it sounds good, but it's not equality. It's I don't know what they're working on. I think they're kind of working on communism. I don't like our leaders in this state right now, but I'm not going to leave because they're here. Hopefully they get cleaned up. Okay, Heinz 57 is with us. Tennessee. All right. Wow. Andy was probably listening to that show. I'm sure you were. And he says he's been feeding a lot of trees to goats lately, haven't touched their hay in weeks. Huh. Yeah, I'm seriously thinking about getting a chipper shredder. And one of the things that I should be doing to manage this farm is, uh, try to thwart the encroachment of the woods. So every year when I'm cutting hay, I'm losing a couple of feet because the trees, they're an inch around, and I don't really want to put those through the hay bine. And so I just move in a little bit, and then next year they're 2 inches, and then there's some more so I'm losing hayfield. And what I need to be doing really is going out there with a tractor and grabbing a hold of them and yanking them out by the roots. And I think that's what I will be doing. Or maybe I'll just be clipping them off because we want the roots down. And when I clip them off, just have a chipper shredder going in a trailer and just just run them through. We could go down with a couple guys and it's good work. And then you come to the house or to the animals' pens with a trailer load of chipped up popple and just dump it to them. Yeah, you think that they'll turn their nose up at that? I don't think so. Because when I cut them off and I throw them in with the pigs, they will totally strip every bit of bark off, all the leaves off, all the buds, everything, and then some of the wood out by the tip, they'll just chew that right up and eat it, right? And so we've got this feed source here. I don't think it's going to serve them for the entire season, but if I can shave, let's say I could shave 2 months worth of feeding off my crop of pigs for the year, you know how much money that is? Do you have any idea how much money that is? That is huge. So this is the year where we try it. Nancy is saying, on a smaller scale, I used rabbit urine around the potato plants and found the deer stayed away. Wow. When I stopped using it, the deer ate everything. You should eat the deer. It's like they're coming right to you. Yeah, you got to love Marion. Yeah. Okay, deer won't touch okra, onions, garlic, nor our pumpkins and watermelons. Huh. How about that? Alabama deer, no doubt. Alabama deer. I bet you probably went down to Eglin Air Force Base, Andy, at one time. I was down there and they told us to stay on the base, don't go in the woods. So it was like telling me not to go in the woods was like saying, and you're supposed to hang out in your tent and talk with the other dopes. So I took to the woods instantly and I found really cool stuff. And actually about 100 yards in from where our tent city was, I came to this lagoon and it was beautiful. It had to be a half a mile across. And here's boats going up and down with bikinis on the boats. And it's like, that was where I wanted to be. So anytime I got done working, I was over there. I showed one other guy, and then he showed somebody that told the instructors we were doing it, and I got pinched. Right. But I did see deer in the woods there, and I was really surprised at how little they were. Yeah. And then I found out there's no limit on them. You can shoot as many as you want. All right. Andy says, I got a chipper shredder, but hadn't thought about the pigs. Oh man, you could set that thing right up on the edge of their their pen, And I know it will work because when we've gotten chips from the guys that are clearing the power lines and they dump them to us, I'll pick up the biggest scoop I can get with my tractor and dump it in with the pigs, and they'll spend a lot of time going through it. They don't eat all of it, and they don't just chow it down. They're kind of picky about what they want to eat. But they do spend a lot of time going through it. They spread it all out. After a short period of time, you can't even tell you put it there because it all goes back. There's a lot of carbon, in there, but there's also in their pen lots of nitrogen because there's a lot of manure in there. Oh, I know nobody's asking this, but I plan to make a video about it tomorrow. I I would have done it today. It wasn't a fit day to be out there and making videos. It was just not a good day. But my nursery pen, it's where our sows are. So it's our maternity pen. And I don't have many sows anymore. I have three. I knocked off three of them last fall that were real big, and I plan to replace them, but I just never got around to it because I've been doing such a good business in pigs. My pigs are all going. I'm selling them. And I need pigs, but when I can sell them and get a good return on them in dollars, I need the dollars for other projects. So I am selling quite a bit of pigs. I got six of them going out on Friday, I think, at pretty good coin. So what I'm doing in the maternity pen, I only have three sows in there and a boar. I split it in half. They are on, let's see, is it a half acre? Yeah, they are on a half acre, and I split that in half. So now we've got 2 quarter acres. And 1 quarter acre, Frank went in there and he plowed the whole thing up with a rototiller. I know I'm going to get hate mail over rototillers. But with that much manure in there, you've got to do some rotation of the soil, I believe. And it kind of flattens it out, makes it look good. And so I had to go in search of some seed. And I've been getting a little concerned about seed lately because with a lot of other things, it's in short supply, or it could be. So I went to the co-op yesterday, and everything that they said, everything that has this color tag on it is $1 a pound. So this is 5 pounds of bare seam clover, and I've never used it. So when I saw that, I didn't know what it was, but it's clover, and I'm going to plant some of this in that pen. We got it all tilled up, and I'm going to plant some in there so I can see what it looks like and see how it does with that high amount of nutrient that's in there. There's a lot of manure in there. And then they had this too. So this is 5 pounds of kale seed, and I paid $5 for it. That's cheap. I mean, it's super cheap. If this kale seed was in a little packet like that, you'd probably pay $4 for it, and there'd be like 25 seeds in it. And here I got all of this for $5. And let's see that. And I got this too. This was a little bit different one that I had not seen before either. This was a Alsike clover. So the place where we get stuff, it's the co-op. It is no longer the co-op. The co-op was bought out, and now it is another company that owns it. And so there was 2 locations, and they changed everything around, and it lost that hometown appeal. Now the people that work there, they're not from around here, so it just lost a lot of the appeal. And so I didn't go in there last year. And I wasn't mad at him or anything. I just went to another place, and I decided to go in there day before yesterday, and they had it set up pretty nice, and the people that were in there they were not from around here, but they were nice, and they had a really big setup that was designed to bring in the deer hunters, right? So this outfit believes that they're going to sell a lot of this stuff to deer hunters, and when the deer hunters are in there buying this stuff, maybe they will buy pop and beer and all the other junk that they have. Maybe that's what they're thinking. So I told the lady, well, I'm not a deer hunter. And she said, I really don't care. So anyway, there was a lot in there, and I'm going to go back tomorrow, and I'm going to scoop up a bunch more of it because I feel like Man's got to have a hobby, and collecting seeds is a good hobby. So when Andy comes over, I can come on. Let me show you my collection of seeds here, Zami. You're gonna love this. Okay. Okay, Nancy's gonna plant some okra this year. Right on. Don't really like okra unless it's pickled. It always seems to be like snot. I got a mobile pen. I'm taking the goats to the saplings and widening the open areas. I got every pass. Oh wow. Yeah. Bring bring the animals to the feed source. Are they just stripping them or are they taking them out? Okay, then I grapple the toss out saplings and burn them. Okay, so you probably have a grapple that you can drop down and it'll pinch them and you pull them out. Yeah, all right, cool. All right, David is saying garlic seems like a great cash crop, and it's definitely not something deer will eat. It is definitely a bit of an investment to scale up garlic growing. Yeah, yeah. In my homesteading here, a lot of times I've said, "Oh, I'm going to do a lot of this," and at one time, yeah, garlic. I read on the internet all about garlic and stuff, and I thought, "Wow, we could do this." We'll go to farmers markets and sell garlic and stuff. Turns out people really around here aren't really into garlic. We eat a lot of garlic, but it didn't work out so good. All right. So Nancy's saying they walk past my door so easy picking. Yeah, you can get your canning jars going and start knocking them down and getting them canned up. Yep. Okay, Andy's saying brush hog. Okay. You move the goats out and then the areas you expand them out. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if this worked, let's say this idea of clipping these off when they're about this big and chipping them, and it worked as a feed, I don't think you'd want to pull them up because I think you'd want them to come up. They will sucker. Once you cut them off, they'll sucker out again, and two of them will come up, or four of them will come up. It's that coppicing mindset, and then your feed supply is increasing as you take it. And boy, if you were chipping that in with the pigs, that could be really neat. I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna show you guys how it works because I'm pretty excited about it. Oh, you hunted Eglin, Elgin, Eglin. I'm talking about Eglin. Elgin? Is that a base? Anyway. Okay, Heinz is saying I raised organic elephant garlic on a commercial basis. Deer won't like it, but cows will eat it. I bet you that makes good taste and milk. Okay, David says he's getting into elephant garlic presently. Yeah, cool. No, any suggestions? Does anybody have any suggestions? Maybe Heinz does where to source elephant garlic in large quantities. Boy, this stuff's really cheap at the store, and I think it comes out of China, doesn't it? Okay, Heinz is saying I raised hairy Veth or hairy vetch as a cover crop one year, and I turned the cows into it before plowing it under. The cows thought they were in candy. Never seen cows go so nuts on something. Yeah. Um, hey, forage crops, I believe, are really underrated. We should be planting forage crops. And I've seen where, like with hairy vetch, where a farmer will put up a wire and that will limit how far in the cows can go. And then you move that wire every day. Give them 10 more feet and 10 more feet and 10 more feet. and it seems to be a pretty good thing. David's saying tilling is fine occasionally. Not according to some people. Some people have these, and it's not like I don't believe them. It's just that when I till, I make the decision that I'm going to do it, and I still get good crops out of where I till. So, but they have these formulas. They tell you how many little organisms that you're killing, and yeah, okay. Chemical-based no-till is worse than tilling. Yeah, I don't know. Hmm. Hmm. Nancy says she's got some crimson clover. Yeah, clover is a favorite of mine too. I really like rye. The clover is a close second. I you can't go wrong if you get clover and then you frost seed it in on your hay fields. You can't go wrong. Eglin, yeah, Eglin. Okay. Hmm. All right. Okay, David's saying back on the till versus no till topic. There was a guy named Gary Zimmer in Wisconsin who builds soil every year with tillage faster than no till. Yeah. To me, I've seen where tilling uh, does increase because in the natural world, the disturbance of the soil uh, is part of the equation. You know, if you've got a field and the bison are running over it, they're going to disturb it. Like when you put pigs out on silvo pasture, they disturb it, and a lot of new things will come up. So I'm see, we wouldn't be having this conversation of till no till if we hadn't have done the excessive tillage. And then it seems like the no till method is like the fix to the till method is to no till. Well, I don't know. I don't know about that. If I was to tell my wife, well, the garden this year, we're not gonna till that up, I think I'd have problems there. We till it every year, and I don't know, have pretty good gardens, pretty great gardens actually. So I don't know if I buy all that. I had heard people at the last get together we had here at the farm, and Craig Schaff, who's a big friend of mine, and he's a real no-tiller type guy. He's a broad fork type guy, but he's very small scale. I can't, I can't broad fork. Three. My fields are 100 by 100, and I've got three of them, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. I really can't broad fork that by hand. I just can't do it. I mean, we're a livestock operation, so where he is primarily vegetables, we've got livestock going, and they're creating a huge amount of manure and nitrogen that we have to deal with, and so we really need to get it mixed in. I think. I don't know what would happen if we didn't do it. Oh well. I do some tilling on this place, but the majority of it is in grass, so it doesn't get tilled. It's not like I till up hay fields. I don't think it's such a great idea. I did a little bit of studying under, Joel Salatin. I've read a lot of his stuff, and Alan Savory is another one. And they don't recommend, hey, let's kill all the grass out here and then till it up and plant some new grass. They don't recommend that. And I don't think that's a good idea either. I think if you've got a weak hay field, well, let's disturb it a little bit. Let's scuff it up a little bit and then get some stuff planted and maybe amend it on top of it. Let's get some manure out there and do it that way. But I don't think to destroy everything and start over. I don't know if that's such a good idea. I think because you're destroying a lot more than you think. That's where I come to it. Like we had a hayfield that if it got dry, it's right up on top here. They call it um, the dune. Some of the farmers around here called it the dune, the sand hill. If it got dry, it would turn brown and be completely brown. Everything would be dead. As soon as we got some rain, you'd see a little bit of green coming back, and then boop, it'd come back. And what we did there was we amended it. We put a lot of compost out there. I made lots and lots of compost. Here's a story for you. Early on in this farm's history, we didn't have a lot of avenues to go, right? So we'd get hung up. And my thought process was, well, we need to do what everybody else is doing around here and do a lot of something because that's what they're all doing around here. They're milking a lot of black and white cows. Do they have chickens? No. Most of them don't even have a dog on their farm. They just a lot of black and white cows. They don't butcher their own. They don't do beef cows. They just a lot of black and white cows. And so I thought that would be a good thing for us to do. And I was looking for something I could do a lot of. And I wasn't really finding it. Just really wasn't finding it. So times were tough. And I thought, somebody asked me if I wanted to haul dead cows. And I have a 10-yard dump truck. And I thought, yeah, okay. So I was charging $25 to haul it off, which I was probably getting ripped off. And then I would haul them here. We would skin them. The hides were worth $25. And then I was taking all the meat off of them that I could get easy off. And then we were putting it in buckets for the hound dog guys, which I can't stand those guys, but they are bear dog people. And then we were selling that. And so we were kind of making a go of things. I needed to dispose of all these bones, and I needed to start composting. I needed a compost pile. And a friend of mine, an Amish friend of mine, he was lamenting one day about, what am I going to do with all this manure? I don't know what I'm going to do with all this manure. And I said, I could take some of it. And he says, I'll load you up all you can take. And so I went over with my 10-yard dump truck, and he loaded me up. And his boy says, you want some more? And I went back. I got some more. And I brought it home here, and I dumped it. And then I dumped one right next to it. And then I got another one, and I dumped it here, and another one right next to that. So it was starting to shape up where I had this row of manure. And it was manure and sawdust. So it was a good mix. He has a calf feeding operation, and he's feeding them just a real high calorie mix of grain and corn and all this stuff. So, but I got a lot of manure, and I had three 300-foot windrows until my Amish friend said, "What are you doing with all that manure?" And I said, "I'm making compost with it." And he's like, "What compost? What, like for a garden?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "What are you going to do with that?" I said, "I think like golf courses would want it," but I didn't know. And I was also burying all the bones from the cow skinning operation in there because I had to dispose of them, and I just felt like piling them up. I didn't think that was very good, and I wasn't sure if somebody was going to have a problem with it. Now I wouldn't give a I wouldn't care if somebody did have a problem with it. But yeah, the bones composted down. But then my Amish friend was like, "Well, I think I'm going to have to charge you for fuel." And then pretty soon, I'm gonna have to charge you per truckload. And now he's got a composting operation over there on his place. I don't blame him, you know. Um, and if I was to do that now, if I had the time to skin cows right now, I probably could. I probably could do it because I can always hire people. Um, but cow hides are worth more than $25 now. And you salt them and then you fold them in half and you stack them up on a pallet, and you get them high enough and you take them down to the place, and you can get a pretty penny for those. You know, it's a lot of work, but if you know what you're doing, you can skin a cow quick, really quick. Actually, you just get it started, and then you use a winch to you pull the cow one way and you pull the hide the other way, and they just come right apart. Um, and the bones, if I was to do that over again, I would keep the bones and I would make biochar out of the bones. I have very few bones on this place now because we biochar them as soon as we get them. You know, they have to dry out a little bit, but then we turn them into biochar. Which, by the way, biochar is getting a lot of attention lately. Joe made a video, and I was talking about biochar and its use in pastured poultry. And it's really fun to read the comments because people will say, "Oh, well, there's a chemical that they make to do that," you know, and they try to tell me that I'm wrong. But the idea of using biochar for pastured poultry is we avoid the need to use chemicals in our livestock that we plan to eat those livestock. I don't want to pump them with chemicals that I wouldn't put it in my kids' water to drink. So why would I feed it to the animals that the kids are going to eat? So anyway, those videos got a lot of views, and so we have a lot of interest in making biochar. And I've said before, and I'll say it again, that I think biochar is one of the best force multipliers on the homestead. And why, I can't buy biochar at the co-op is because there's a lot of stuff I can't buy at the co-op or the feed store. Why? Because if I was feeding biochar, I wouldn't need medicated feed for chickens. What are they medicated with? Amprolium. It's Corid is the brand name. But there's no money in that. There's no money in charcoal. There is money in Corid. What is Corid? What does it take to make Corid? I don't know. Maybe it's a byproduct of, who knows? It could be a byproduct of anything. And it's certainly poisonous. When you give it to your livestock, you're putting like a teaspoon in a gallon of water. So it's certainly not something that you would want to chug. I think I got Cock City. I think I'll chug some. But anyway, that is getting it is getting a lot of attention. All right. There is a hybrid method like cover crop pathways that are. Wait a minute, maybe I'm missing something here. This sounds interesting. Oh, one of these days, my mouse is going to give up the ghost. Ghost says, gardens coming along great so far. Potatoes, peas, and beans all in. Pepper plants on the way. Right on. Wow. You're ahead. How are you doing? You're ahead of us. You can't be warmer there than we are, Ghost. All right, David's saying there's a hybrid method like cover crop pathways that are mowed and tilled rows. Yeah, we do that. What I like to do is plant in the aisleways, that you walk down, and we have a push mower that is 24 inches. So it's got a side discharge on it. And so you can go down the row and you can discharge it right at the base of the plant, of the plants that, you want to stay there. And it works pretty good. Scott Dick is saying, where do you take cowhides? There's a place down in Grand Rapids that you can take them to. I don't recall the name of it. I don't recall. If you're around here, Scott, and you need to know, call over to Ebles and ask Tom. That's where I got the contact from. That was years ago. David's saying biochar may be necessity in our increasingly toxic land. Saw a map of all the recent chemical disasters across the United States of America. Yeah. All right, Nance. We'll see you. Very warm right now. We're in British Columbia. Sure ain't warm here. All right. I think that's it. I forgot to bring it up. I'm sorry. I'm going to get taken to the woodshed on this. But our show tonight is brought to you by the Tribe Plus, and the link is in the description. There are manufacturers' discounts that you can take advantage of if you are in the Tribe Plus. Also, we have courses. We have how-to, and then we have consulting with yours truly a Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. And we are going to be having a consulting call this coming Wednesday. All right. I think we got a little turned around. That was my fault. I'm sorry. And more. Tribe Day is coming up. It's going to be July 8th and 9th, actually 7th, 8th, and 9th, because the 7th, Nick Ferguson's going to be here, and he's going to be talking all about tree forages. And by then I should have my operation going, so I'll be able to give real world explanation of how it worked and maybe even demonstrate it with our pigs. Okay. Thanks everybody for coming. Now is the time to put the pedal to the metal as far as your homesteads go. Regardless of what happens in the near future, near or middle future or late future, we're still going to need food, and we're still going to need our work, and we're going to still need to keep busy and keep ourselves sustained. So get after it, and remember, anyone can farm. And I see you, Lone Star. Welcome, and I'll see you. Bye. Good night.